All right. Good morning, everybody on YouTube. Welcome to Monday again. We're back at it. Going to hit it hard. Just like the snow is still hitting us hard, it looks like, across the Midwest. On your screen there, rain coming down through basically right through the middle of the country. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hit up your weather here real quick while we got people coming in. Obviously got a little bit of weather coming in off the west coast there with Seattle and Washington. Rain turning into snow in the mountains all up through British Columbia. And you got that rain just kind of cutting right down through the middle. We'll see what happens the rest of the week, right? But we actually had a little bit of snow Saturday even, and finally cleared up. It still feels like winter around here. That groundhog was pretty right about that 6 weeks of winter, huh? It's still kicking in for sure. Brief article, they had 6 countries reported, or 5 countries reported orange snow. Sounded interesting, but just sidetracking a little bit. With March was cold, it says. Mostly in the East is where they talk about the story, but that will be in the description box. Basically a backtrack of all the winter that took place through March. And how it wasn't just our imagination. It did feel more like winter last month or this month than it did previously. I thought it was just me. But there you go. And that's just for the East. But coming up, look, that's all on the East Coast. It's supposed to be warmer. There's a 6. There you go. We're getting warmer out here too. We don't have no fear. So there you have it. Something to look forward to. But orange snow, mostly over the Sahara Desert, it looks like. It actually snowed enough that it took dust and sand across the Mediterranean and dumped it in Europe, turning the snow a little bit crazy. It's like having a dust storm with snow, basically. Be a lot of fun, huh? Probably not that unusual occurrence, but that's a long transport. Interesting anecdotal story. Check out our side chat. Who we got here with us this morning? Walter Davis is with us. How you doing this morning? 01 Crom, what's up? And Barry Woods with us. Right on. Barry reports clouds in 31. You're just a little bit east of that weather coming in, right, Barry? Cold where Walter in your neck of the woods out there? Groundhogs are idiots. But they're right sometimes, apparently. It's one of those things. If you're right 33% of the time, you're in the Hall of Fame, right? If it's a good batting average. Yeah, Walter. Wind and weather, jet stream transports stuff a long way, just like Fukushima radiation, etc. all that stuff can be carried quite the distance. That's one of those things that proof's in the pudding when you see something like that, where it transports enough sand out of Africa to Europe. So hope everybody had a good weekend, or at least made it enough to where you can recover today. I got a couple videos I'm generating up. I had a pretty good weekend. Went out fruit looping around in the Jeep, the tactical scout vehicle, with all the rain and weather we've had. Just messing around a little bit, and then got to do some shooting too. So it's all good. So there were these protests this weekend that I'm sure everybody heard about. All the young children descended on DC. I'm sure you've seen enough of that to make you sick enough. But here was a good article out of, this is on Breitbart, and rapper Mike making the warning call to the gun grabbers, and Colion Noor from NRA News did an interview with him as well. Discussing the dangers and evils of gun control. But for a decent quote, "You're not woke, you're going to progress us into slavery." Exactly. Exactly. And it goes back to that old adage, only free men are allowed to bear arms, slaves aren't, or slaves can't bear arms, or some variation of that take you can use. But I guess the quotes, Mike told his kids he loves them, but if you walk out of that school, walk out of my house, in regards to the school walkout. So he told his kids the way it was. He's based out of Atlanta. So that's a pretty good interview too. It's over on NRA TV. You'll be on their website. Colion Noor's YouTube channel have it as well, but worth checking out. I guess there was a few of them running around Reno this weekend as well. But fairly good perspective to get from who most of your average white bread liberal would look at this guy and be like, he's on our side, but obviously it's not the case. And that's one of those ways to highlight it's not a guarantee of who's on your side. People are able to educate themselves. So that'll be in the description box below. I'm trying to get ahead of this game and do some of them in the description box before we get in here. That way I don't take up all your guys' time. Also, there's a story on here about Parkland survivor quoted, "Don't use his sister as a push for gun control." Another off media narrative, alternative media narrative, not the mainstream narrative, obviously. but it's quoted off of Twitter, so take that with a grain of salt. But there's another anecdotal story to the division as well with the whole thing. There's definitely a growing separation between Americans, and it's not easily rectified. If it can be at all. There were a couple pictures out of the protest this weekend where people actually holding signs up saying, yes, we will pry them from your cold, dead hands. Of course, they don't mean them themselves because they're never bold enough to do such a thing. But, of course, I mean government agents they'll send to do it for them because they're not capable. But there was a couple pictures of signs like that coming out of the protests. So, oh, I didn't even see that. I just picked this up. So, link here on the Drudge. Headline. So, going back a little bit, but to get into the to our conspiratorial mindset. Tagline here: revealed. Pulse gunman father was FBI informant. The Pulse gunman being the guy down in Orlando, Florida, shot up that nightclub, Middle Eastern man who went rogue and gunned all people down a couple of years ago now. Goodness, time flies. But apparently his dad, it was an FBI informant. He's an FBI source and currently under criminal investigation. They called a mistrial due to this. He was a confidential FBI source from 2005 through June of 2016. So I guess the implication would be that the guy was talking to his dad and didn't know he was an informant, and now it's just not coming out. And they're asking for a mistrial. So yeah, 2 years later, you find out your dad's a informant for the FBI that's prosecuting you. Yeah, I guess there's some grounds there for mistrial because you've been speaking to your dad probably for the last 2 years. The plot thickens. I have to read a little bit more into that. Definitely putting that in the comment box below. This is on Orlando.com. It's quoted here: Sam Mateen's father played a significant role in the FBI's decision not to seek an indictment from the Justice Department for false statements to the FBI or obstruction of justice against Mateen during its 2013 investigation of his threats. So his previous threats he had made from before he shot up the nightclub. Interesting. Family ties that bind. Didn't expect to see anything about that this morning. Looks like his dad was probably in a foreign military somewhere as well. Was he from, what country was he from? Hard to tell. Let me go out here and check out the side chat again. And I think we got a couple people bounced in. But also on the radar always is war to check out, but we're kicking out 60 Russian officers due to that UK poisoning incident that keep being referring to. Food Forest, good morning. How you doing? Mule Team's with us. How you doing? Good morning. Walter, I'll assume by saw you mean squad automatic weapon. Because that's the only saw I can think of. Because I guess you can get a hand saw, but what use is that? But we are kicking out diplomats, it looks like, out of the country, further escalating the tensions, of course, based upon the poisoning of those folks over there a couple weeks ago, or a little bit more than that, wasn't it? Crom wants an A10 for Christmas. We'll put that on my wish list, Crom. So everybody's expelling diplomats from each other's countries. It's a short story. It was the red headline on the top of CNBC earlier, so it hasn't fully been developed and researched yet by the media. It doesn't look like, but it's just happening this morning. And it's out of they work at the United Nations headquarters in New York. And so it says, it quotes here, reflects concerns that Russian intelligence activities have been increasingly aggressive. I didn't know they ever slowed down. Interesting. But yeah, that's something to keep on your radar, the war drums as they continue to spar at each other. But the Dow is up. I guess China spoke a little bit about the trade sanction stuff, and everybody's all happy-go-lucky. Headline up here. China says it's willing to hold talks to resolve trade differences. So the 20D chess believers will think that this is the Trump 20D chess winning. But to go along with the war issue, last week we saw that John Bolton was brought back into the National Security Council. He's a holdover from the old days of the Bushes. If you don't remember John Bolton. So there's a good article here on the Zero Hedge. It's via the Strategic Culture Foundation. So it's quoted out or referenced from. But goes into his long history of hawkish, as it says, machinations. But basically, example here is 2015. He wrote a piece about basically pulverizing Tehran into the dust, and et cetera, et cetera. I think he may have been a strong proponent of the whole axis of evil quotes and policy of further imperialism. But that would be some light reading for you this morning. So it looks like first thing Bolton's going to work on is the Iran deal. But he has promised Trump he wouldn't start any wars. Good luck with that. So some follow-up on moves made last week. Right there. Who's still got here hanging with us? Same old out in the side chat. Looks like everybody's building bigger driveways to fit in their M1A1 Abrams, it looks like, or something. Or to park their A10, I'm not sure. I don't know how you guys got on that topic, but all right. I guess whatever works for you. All right, so that's some of the headlines going on out there, away from the distractions. or feeding the distractions, I guess, also as it is. But obviously those protests around the country took up a lot of the news time this weekend, and everybody begging for their rights to be taken away, etc. And the party line message from here is not one more inch. Nobody's giving you anything. Come and take them. There's no more negotiation because it's obvious that they're not willing to be negotiated with. It's take them all or nothing. They've made their intentions clear. Good morning, Billy Bird Outdoors. How are you doing? So about the last 10 minutes, anybody got any other issues on their radar that I'd like to bring up? I guess bring subjects other than your most desired military vehicle. Just remember, links to these will be in the description box below the video for your own viewing pleasure. I'm not finding much else. I guess we can just wish you folks a good week. Have a motivating Monday, right? You don't hear that very often. All right, Food Forest. We'll see you later. Thanks for checking back in. Yeah, hopefully most people are having their morning coffee there, Billy Bird. It's, one technique. Hey, good morning, Tommy Boy. So is that your stock is up? You have your own company you're invested in, or you have stock in? But yes, the market was up like 500 a second ago. You know how quickly that can change, though. But it's all going to go sideways. It ain't going nowhere. Don't worry. I think we're going to be stuck under 26,000 for quite some time until all this stuff sorts out between the bond market and trade issues and trade wars and inflation fears and Fed interest rate raises and stuff. I don't think we're going to be shooting up anytime soon. Yeah, so the talks of the Chinese discussing trade issues and avoiding a trade war are pretty high. It looks like everybody wants to sit down and talk and sing kumbaya. But not so much with Russia, it seems. The intensity of things against the Russians continues to march forward. But yeah, Tommy Boy, stocking up in brass and lead is always a good policy. Did you make it home already, Mule, or are you still working? Right, Tommy, what just when things look calm, something always happens? Because it does seem relatively calm in the last couple weeks. I've been just waiting for the next shoe to drop. Hopefully it doesn't drop on you, right? It's a good point, Walter. Probably an interesting summer. I'd imagine these kid protests might go large scale this summer. You never know. Everybody will be organizing together to skip their summer vacations and protest for your guns to be turned in, et cetera, et cetera. I could see it coming. They those weekends, this past weekend, those protests weren't as large as they had hoped, I believe. But I don't know if that necessarily would dissuade them either. But there were hundreds of thousands of dollars dumped into it by celebrities. On an article I saw, like George Clooney and others, like $500,000 each. They were putting into that for all that transportation, all that organization, and everything. But people keep trying to sell it like it's some grassroots movement. But in the end, the message remains the same. It's come and get them, because there is no narrative or discussion left to be had when that's their only agenda. Yeah, Crom, that's an old school movie there. Tank with James Garner. That's like, it's gonna be like what, 82? Something like that. Tommy boy, how you doing? Yeah. How much money could they have, all that money that was organized for these protests, how much could they have fed people? Yeah, yeah, they'll let you know how to they just overlook those things. Their argument would be that they're saving more kids by banning guns. And I think the poverty and the starvation rates would be prove that to be a lie. Hey, good morning, M Long. How you doing? Looks like you got more weather coming your way. Spend money on the schools. Yeah, they could have done a lot of things, right? Lots of things they could have done with that money other than pay for a bunch of spoiled kids to go out there and yell about what they don't know about. So again, highlighting the weather as we punch out of here. You got that rain cutting right down the middle of the country with snow up high. They're saying it's gonna be warm this week for the most part in the west here, especially. But that March has definitely been more winter than February. Go back down. So that's the warming coming up to there to the east. So you should feel better, M Long. Looks like you'll be in the 50s at least. Yeah, good point, Walter. We should have bought them Tide Pods. That would have everybody been happy with that, right? Everybody been happy with that outcome. Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. All right, folks, we're going to jet out of here. We're going to punch out. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for checking out the chat. Links are in the description box for what we discussed. Hope you have a motivating Monday. And join us again tomorrow morning. We'll see what we can dig into. Live free.